Warmly welcome you all to the live quarantine Tech Talk, a chat with Angelica, organized by Women in Post Community SLIIT. So, as you all know, today we have a special guest. She is Angelica here, Associate Product Manager at the New York Times. Hello, Angelica. Screen is yours. Hi. So, screen is yours.
Awesome. I mean, would it be helpful by starting by, I guess, introducing all three of us?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to take the honor of introducing Angelica, to be honest. So Angelica is an associate product manager at the New York Times in New York City. So overseeing the backend platform infrastructure in New York Times. If I'm not mistaken, she looks into newsletters, emails, and push notifications. She has spoken at a number of tech meetups as well as having spoken at GoCon. And you can hear her on weekly on Go Time podcast as a regular panelist. And I also take this opportunity to thank Chamod for introducing us to Angelica to have this night chat with Angelica. For Angelica, it's morning chat. For us, it's night. And I am Renu Parshata. I'm final year cybersecurity student. And over to Sevanthi, the president of.
Yeah, I'm Sevanthi Singh. So I'm the community lead of Women in Post, and also a co-volunteer for Sri Lanka and secretary of SLIIT Post community. So Angelica, would you tell us about yourself a little bit, like what we don't know about yourself?
Sure. So for having me, I'm very kind of excited to talk to this group. So I am originally from London. But as was mentioned by Ranu, I now work at the New York Times. I've been there for about 3 years, and I work managing a team of about 13 people, mostly engineers, and we are responsible for making sure that anyone who subscribes to any of our newsletters, receives any emails from the New York Times, or gets any breaking news alerts to their phone, gets them as fast as possible and as easily as possible. So we serve both kind of the end user customers as well as like internally we serve the newsroom to make sure that they can, create the most beautiful newsletters possible, send their breaking news alerts as fast as possible. A lot of my time is spent trying to make our push notifications like just a few seconds faster. I'm in New York, desperate to go home, as we were chatting about before we started the event, because of this weird time we're in. But I love it in New York. I guess a little bit about me that might be useful to the group is that although I'm now in a very technical role, and I do a lot of technical work in my free time, like I love Go is my language of choice. I didn't start off on a career path. I have a very kind of winding road to the role I'm now in. If you looked at my CV and my resume, there is nothing on there that would qualify me for the job I now do. There is nothing technical on paper and the job I do now, there's no alignment at all. I started kind of my career journey wanting to be an actress. I wanted to work for the Royal Shakespeare Company, and I wanted to be, up on the stage doing Shakespeare plays. And I actually went to drama school in London. I got qualified as an actress. Realized I didn't really like that. So because I like working in teams, and I felt like being an actress is a very solitary job. So I kind of switched paths and thought I would be a Shakespeare academic. So I would write books about Shakespeare. And again, nothing to do with technology. But I've always been interested in technology. I've always loved reading about it, experimenting with new things that came out, new innovations. But it was always a hobby. It was never the career I wanted. But when I started university, I took over our university's newspaper and our magazine. And one of my core projects as editor-in-chief was I created, the website, I created an app for it. I was running a team of 50 other students, trying to get this out every week, update the website every day. And I realized how much I loved it. It was so interesting and so fun. And that was what led me to intern at the New York Times. So I interned at the New York Times in 2016, and I got exposed to this technological world that felt far more accessible to me than previously, because I was interacting with software engineers. I was talking to product managers who were working on technical problems, and I was learning what product management even was, because I had no idea what product management was. It wasn't even a job I knew existed. At the New York Times, learning what product management was. And that was really when I decided I wanted to go down that route. So I had another year left at university. So I left. I kind of spent some time as a contractor working from London for the New York Times. I then was supposed to start at the New York Times in 2017. But I decided, so I went to Columbia University in New York. So that was why I moved to New York originally. And I did a journalism master's, specializing in cybersecurity and policing. So that was really my first formal tech qualification, if you can call it that. And then started at the New York Times in July 2018. And it's kind of been up and up from there, getting more and more involved in the software engineering community. As I say, Go is my language of choice. Happy to talk more about that, but I guess that's kind of whistle-stop tour how I ended up where I am today.
So Angelica, I have a I
interrupt you, Seven. It's okay.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, you can carry on.
So Angelica, what are the challenges that?
I mean, I would say the first and foremost challenge was just me, honestly. I spent a lot of time denying myself the opportunity to get into technology, even though I knew I loved it, because I felt like I wasn't formally qualified. I felt like maybe I wasn't smart enough, like maybe I wouldn't be able to do it. It was like self-imposed. I spent a lot of time just giving into that kind of imposter syndrome of, oh, I don't know whether I can do this. It wasn't until I kind of bluntly, one of my really close friends was like, Angelica, just do it. Don't be silly. Like, come on, just try it. Like, what do you have to lose? Like, you try, the worst thing that happens is you realize that you don't like it. Great, at least you tried. So I think that was the first challenge, was just learning to just say yes and try things out without worrying too much about failing, about not being good at it, because I feel very strongly that anyone can be good at anything, as long as they're excited about it, they're willing to learn, they're willing to be honest and ask the silly questions. So that was, I think, the biggest challenge, that now I still feel that a lot. Imposter syndrome is real to every, no matter how experienced you are. But I think that was the first challenge. Second challenge, which I think is systemic to just women in tech, is there is still, I mean, bluntly, sexism within the tech industry. There is a lot. I'm going to say it how it is. There is a lot. And it is still more challenging it shouldn't prevent you pushing yourself forward and fighting for what you want. But I think for me, it was acknowledging that that's the reality, and then doing all that I can to ignore you. And if I want to do a talk, I'm going to do it. If I want to speak up and give my opinion, I'm going to do it. And not letting that stop you moving forward, and not letting your gender define you in any way. Because also, honestly, which I think is a little bit controversial opinion, I think certainly from my personal experience, like you tend to be underestimated. But I think that's a really powerful tool, because I feel like it means that your brilliance is surprising, and you're able to really flourish almost like under the radar, and just like, I don't know, I've had instances where I've been in a room with, you know, a group of talking about something very technical, and I have known what they are talking about, but they've assumed I haven't. But I found that it's quite empowering. Like, I've tried to find empowerment from those situations, because I'm then able to speak up and show the room, like, I know what I'm talking about. Like, this is something that I understand, that I feel I can contribute to. And people will then learn not to underestimate you going forward. So I think maybe just like trying not to let it affect you, too said than done. But I would say those two things.
Right. Do any one of us, like we have participants here, any one of y'all have participants here? Any one of y'all have any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't that many of us on the call, so like we should really have a chat. Like, has anyone else faced challenges? Does this resonate with any of you? Like, I'm sure, like getting into maybe like Ranu, like getting into security, like the security industry, certainly in the US and Europe, I know is very male centric. Like, how have you found that?
Okay, to be honest, I work in a UK company called Meta Defense. So,
Yeah.
So far, I haven't not, faced that, discrimination of gender in my career. I couldn't say that I'm privileged, but I know there are many other girls who face it. But for me, I haven't yet faced that issue. It's like in my circle, I do have girls as my friends and peers and co-workers, as well as boys. So
Yeah.
I have seen both of them, encouraging me to get up, climb the ladder. So I haven't seen anyone like pulling me down the ladder. They have always given their hands to me to working in a different company and atmosphere where they don't look at your gender, your age, or anything at all. Just your the confidence levels, just your talents, just your skills is totally different and reboosting. So that I feel so privileged. I'm like, I know there are so many out there, girls and boys. Even boys. I wouldn't say not only girls but also boys face certain discrimination in their career.
Yeah.
I'm a bit, I would like to say I'm a bit privileged in that sector, but yeah, like at some point, what I would like to say the girls and all my colleagues is, if you feel like this working environment is not good for you, and if you feel that you can break the barrier, the first thing you should do is communicate and talk out. If you keep your mouth shut, no one is going to hear you. So you have to, tell it out. See, this is not working out for me. And always don't hesitate to resign your job. If you believe in yourself, you will always, you will find a way to get into the path which you want. Just like here, Angelica did. She started off she wanted to go into acting field, but then, she literally figured out, okay, acting is not my thing. I want tech. And then she is who she is today. And I do have one more question for you, Angelica. So, you told about how you are interested in technology and why you choose this path, right? You could have chosen something else. You figured out, acting is something, a solitary path because you wanted to work in a team. There are so many other jobs or other paths you could have chosen to work in a team. Why specifically technology?
Yeah, I mean, so I think through like at each phase of my career, like when I was thinking about acting, when I was thinking about being an academic, when I was thinking about product management, technology, the things that I thought through were, I think like four things really. One was, is this something that has the potential to make a positive impact in the world? So what I mean by that is, did I feel like I was really making a positive impact on like other people's lives, on the world around me. And for me, technology is hugely impactful. Technology is so important. It has such wonderful power to make this world better, easier to distribute, learning to distribute information. So for me, that was the first thing, is making that positive impact. The second was it a working culture and an industry that I wanted to be a part of? So for example, the theatre and acting industry is, honestly, it's a wonderful industry. It's very creative and interesting, but there are aspects of it that are very self-serving, that are very, like actors can be very self-absorbed. Like that was just in terms of the industry and the culture, and honestly also the lifestyle, like living from interview to interview, living from audition to audition. I wanted to be realistic about, was this a culture, was this an industry that I would be happy in? And the technology industry was an industry I felt I'd be happy in. The third was, do I see myself kind of continuing to be excited about it and challenged about it? I'm someone who, if I don't feel challenged every day by the work I'm doing, then I need to like do something else. And for me, tech is always going to be a new technology, a new language, a new interesting area to think about and learn. So I knew that this was an industry that would enable me to keep being excited, keep being challenged. There's always more to learn. And I'm someone who loves like continually learning all the time. So that was a core reason why I love technology. And then the last one, which like, to be very blunt with you, is like, did I feel like I could be the best at this thing? So to be an actress, like I loved acting. It was really interesting, really fun. I didn't think I could be the best actress ever. Academic, like being an academic. Yes, I could write some very interesting books about Shakespeare, but did I think that I could be the, world's best Shakespeare academic? No, probably not. Technology was something that I felt I had the drive, the passion, and the excitement that if I worked hard enough, I could be like really, a leader in my field in technology and product management. So for me, there's really that kind of potential to grow and potential to get to a place where I really truly can be like a leader in that field. And for technology, like I did feel that I could do that. So I think that was what led to it, was really a lot of self-evaluation, a lot of really being honest with myself. And also like, bluntly, like it sounds cheesy, but like technology was like the only thing that really got me like truly like excited. And like I could like, even now, like I think about it and it makes me excited. Like I feel this like fire in me, like, oh, this is so cool. In a way that other areas didn't. Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah, we got the same feelings.
Yeah. I was going to say, I feel this too. Yeah.
So I have another question for you, Angelica. How do you stay motivated when things are hard?
How do I stay motivated with things were hard? Honestly, a lot of it was about acknowledging when things were hard. Like, I don't know whether any of you feel this, but certainly if you're someone who's like ambitious and like wants to be really good at something, or like wants to sit around like admitting when you don't understand something, or like admitting when you're struggling, I think that's something that I certainly have struggled with a lot. So for me, the first thing was like, if things were hard, acknowledging it and talking about it, and like honestly just making sure that you don't like become like, you don't punish yourself for finding it hard, because I think everyone finds it hard. Everyone finds it difficult at times, like especially in technology. Like it's complicated. Like it is a very complicated discipline to be in, because it's ever changing and because there are so many details. And the way I stay motivated was acknowledging I found it hard, and then taking the time to like go back to basics and like work from there. So like, for example, if I'm working on, I don't know, like how do I make a push notification? How do I help my team make a push notification 5 seconds faster. And we're struggling as a team to do it, or there's a bug in my code, or there's something's going on, I'll kind of step back from that high level problem and go back to absolute basics. Like, let me sit down and let me think about the concurrency. Like, I'll go back to the very basics and work up from there if it's a problem, as opposed to trying to tackle the problem in its entirety. That's one thing. A second thing, which might sound a bit silly, but I do it and it does help, is if I'm finding something difficult and maybe there's a research paper that I'm writing that I'm really struggling to get to the place I need to, I'll step back and I'll do a little mini exercise or a little fun project, just to kind of, and it sounds weird, but to prove that I can do it. So I'll write a little mini game that I can play in my terminal, or I'll do a little even writing a hello world function to literally just say hello world to me and be no, I can do something at least. It just makes me feel better. And just reminding myself, that does two things. One, it reminds me that oh, I can do this. And secondly, it's just fun. It's difficult to lose the fun in what you're doing when you're so in the weeds and working on the project, and it's just very stressful. So reminding yourself that no, this is fun, and getting the joy back is, I think, has helped a lot when I'm kind of in a hole and finding stuff hard.
Yeah, Angelica, we have one question from the online streaming. One of our participants has asking, why did you choose Golang?
Why did I choose Go? 11 and a half years old, so still very new. So it's a very active community. I mean, it's an open source language. So I feel like the community was a huge plus. It was accessible to me. And it just happened to be the language that I ended up going with. Also, they have incredibly cute logo. This is the little gopher. So this is the logo of Go. So it was so cute. So there was that too. I liked the logo.
So Angelica, I think we have another question from Uini. Uini, can you ask?
Yeah, sure. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So you have been working in the tech industry for a while. So in your opinion, what are the strengths someone should have to have a career in tech industry?
In the industry, I mean, the first and foremost is you have to be, I believe, I think you need to enjoy learning, and you need to be someone who is okay and is good at continually learning. Just because you can learn a technology, and I'm sure other people, I'd love, certainly my view, you can learn a technology, but give it a month, give it a year, it's going to have developed, it's going to have moved on, there's going to be new things to learn, there's going to be new infrastructures to implement, a new version of the language would have come out that might have different syntax. So if you're in the technology industry, you really need to be continually learning, because if you don't, then you'll be left you might be an expert today, but if you don't grow or learn, next year you're going to be outdated and you're not going to be an expert anymore. So I think that's the first thing. It's unlike a lot of other industries where you can kind of learn the discipline and be working on it and not really have to continually learn as much. I think technology, you really have to be on it, looking at the most recent developments, learning truly all the time. That's the first thing. I think the second part is being okay with ambiguity. There's a lot of uncertainty in tech, and there's a lot of experimentation. So you'll a new technology will come out, you don't know whether it's going to be effective or not for your use case. So there's a lot of trying and failing. So I think you need to be someone who's resilient and is able to be flexible, and as I say, deal well with uncertainty. I think those are the two things that come to mind. Other than the first thing that I said, in terms of formal qualifications, as I said, I have no formal technical qualifications. So I don't think you need to have any formal STEM or maths or physics or computer science background, because I truly believe you can learn everything you need to know on your own if you really enjoy it, because you'll have that motivation to learn.
We have another question again from the audience. Sevanthi, do you want to go for it or shall I ask?
No, you can ask Ryan. Okay.
So actually this is not from a girl, it's from a boy. So I'm happy that boys are also seeing this screen. And they have said, he has said, hi, or are you part of any women-only communities? Yes. Why do you think it is essential?
Am I part of women-only communities? So yes, the answer is I am part of a few women-only communities. I'm part of Women Who Go in New York, and I'm part of, we have like an internal women in tech group in the New York Times. I lead that group. So I am, yes, that's the first part of the question. The second part, why are they important? So I would say two things. Firstly is, as we've mentioned previously, like there are certain challenges that women in technology face to different extents, as we've kind of chatted about, but it is different from our male colleagues. We have different pressures that we're thinking about. There are different aspects of our life about like work-life balance. I think there's a lot of progress that has been made, but like, for example, regardless of the fact that, you have societal support for like stay-at-home dads, like women are still the ones who need to leave work for at least a couple months when they're pregnant if they choose to have children. That's something that when we're thinking about our career, we're thinking about our progress, like we need to be thinking about, and we need support. It's nice to have support in that, like people who empathize with that, who understand that. And that's why women-only groups are, I think, so important, is you're able to openly, freely talk about these challenges with people that also are going through the same thing. That being said, I think it is extremely important that you have, as you have in this call, male allies as part of those groups, men who are also part of the group, men who also are there to listen, to give their opinion, because if there are truly women-only groups, like that's going to be a bit of like an echo chamber. Like we're all going to we can support each other, and that's really helpful. But if we move towards a place where we are, equitable, where we are, like there is no distinction between a male and a female colleague, like we're all the same, then we need allies. Like we need people, we need our male allies to understand the challenges we're going through and also help. And speak up and advocate. So I think that, so I would say those two things. In summary, it's like talking to people who truly understand and empathize with the challenges you're going through. But that being said, like male allies are essential to those groups as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So, Angelica, I have a question. So, you started your career as a journalist. So, how did you find your path to a technical career? What is your career transformation?
I mean, I think it was just a lot of talking to people and understanding what jobs were even out there, and really understanding what I needed to do to get from, like, for example, like the journalism side to the technical side. Like, what skills did I need to have to demonstrate? What technologies did I need to learn about? But if I'm honest, I don't think it was a switch. Like, it wasn't a like on off, like I was in journalism and then I switched to technology. It was much more gradual than that. Like, I work for the New York Times. I'm working for a journalism company. Every step of my career has kind of added to the next. Like, even like my acting, like I work in product management. A lot of my time is spent talking to people who want stuff from my team, and talking to people who I need to convince that what we're working on is the right approach. And bluntly, like, that takes a lot of acting. Like, you gotta conduct yourself in a certain way. So the acting helps. And then the journalism obviously helps now that I'm working on more the business side and the technology side, because part of my job is understanding what do journalists need? Like, what do I need to give them in terms of technology to help them do their best job? So having done journalism, I have a better understanding of that. And then similarly, the more and more I work with software engineers, the more and more I then was able to learn and develop my software engineering skills, so that I am kind of slowly but surely getting to the place where I had to want to make a career transition to software engineering. Like, I could, because it's kind of been more of like a gradual learning curve, as opposed to me kind of quick switch from like one to the other, like taking the time to develop the skills and then make the transition in a more like a smoother fashion, if that makes sense. About learning, that's like, if you take one thing away, it's like, if you are not learning something all the time, then I would encourage you to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, go on, Ashimi. Go on.
I have a question. Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
How is your daily routine? I mean, how much time you spend to learn something new?
Yeah, so I mean, my daily routine is pretty like, I get up and I usually start work at around 9 a.m. Today I'm not, because I'm being cheeky and I'm doing this instead before I start work. But I usually will spend the morning like prepping for the day, making sure everything is ready to go for the day. Then I have meetings pretty much all day with stakeholders, with other teams and with my team, to make sure we're doing our work effectively, making sure that we are kind of doing the right work. Like, and then in terms of learning, which I think is the root of the question, I make sure that I spend at least an hour or two every day. So usually I'll have dinner and then I'll spend kind of 2 hours before bed doing some side project, learning something new. I'll like watch like a YouTube video on some new technology. Yesterday I was watching a YouTube video on Kubernetes and cloud infrastructure. I'll just have it on while I'm eating my dinner. And then, but honestly, most of my learning is happening at the weekends and Sundays. I do spend quite a lot of time, just because I enjoy it, like working on a side project, like making a refactor on my like personal app that I'm building, like watching conference videos. So it's really, which is why I mean, going back to what I said before, it's why it's so important that you are interested in it, because most of my learning is just like in my free time. Like, that's what I would prefer to do. Like, I would prefer to stay in and, you know, eat my breakfast while watching an interesting conference talk than like going out and going, I don't know what I would do. Like going for a bike ride, which is great. And you should always do that. Like, I'm a big advocate for work-life balance, but it's really learning whenever you can. And if I'm honest, like, the idea of work-life balance for me is an interesting one, in that I don't feel like there is a real difference. Like, my life is my life. I'm working on like my side projects. I'm working on my actual like work. I'm working organizing events. Like, it all blurs into one, because I love what I do and I love I love technology. So it doesn't feel like work and life. It feels just like I'm living my life, doing what I love. If that makes sense, like, there's no delineation really, because it's all fun. Like, it's all like awesome.
No, it clearly makes sense, Angelica. Like, I could relate it to mine as well. But I'm actually wondering right now. So if your work life and what you do is both same, right? So your hobbies. If I come to your hobbies, do you have any specific hobbies which is not related with technology, but then or reading books? Apart from that, do you have anything
like hobbies? To be honest, no. Like, I love, like, my hobbies are reading about and learning about technology and like experimenting with like building like a little robot that's gonna like flash lights at like I still read a lot about Shakespeare. Like that hasn't gone away. I watch plays and I love reading about Shakespeare still. So the Shakespeare stuff is still there. But to be honest, like even when I go for my long walks that I enjoy, like I like going for walks and bike rides, I'm listening to like tech podcasts. I'm listening to like The Daily and I'm like reading about technical innovations. And honestly, like I'm happy with that. Like the way I would think about it is if I had the world of free time and I didn't have to work and I like, cause I don't know, I won the lottery or something, what would I want to do with my life? And if the answer is different from what I'm doing now, then I need to make a change. But if I was given a month off of work, I would spend that month doing mini projects and like building some fun app or like, you know, designing a little mini robot to make my toast in the morning. Like, which is what I mean. Like, work and life is not exclusive for me. It's like one thing.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I keep on getting these questions. You know, you mentioned that you are into Go, and Go is right now currently your favorite language, right?
Yeah.
So what was your, you know, before Go, what was your favorite language, or what were the technologies you were interested in?
So Go was my first language ever. Go was the first and only, no, Go is good. No, but I mean, I would say Go was my first language ever. What I would say is now that I've kind of found my feet with Go, I have started looking into other languages and getting interested in other languages. Like more recently, I've been looking into Flutter, which is like a mobile development, which I would say if any of you are interested in like mobile development design, etc., like look into it. It's really interesting. So I would say I'm now beginning to look into other languages and get more interested. I mean, I'm extremely interested in AI. I actually, there's this online forum called like Battle Snake. So I can ping it to you after this, where you can write like a battle snake and you can program it to like a little bit with AI to understand like where on the board the other snake is, where's the food. So I've started to think a little bit more about AI and how I can bring that into my life more. But I think the problem for me is that all technology is really interesting. So it's like trying to learn everything it'll overwhelm you. So I kind of have to be like, I'm going to continue to do Go because I enjoy it and it's fun. And that's like my core language. And then I'll focus on like one or two other things. So at the moment it's Flutter and AI. Once I feel like I've understood that, I've kind of got to a good place in it, then I'll move on to something else. Like I've actually started getting into like blockchain and cryptography more recently. So beginning to like look into that, but I try and like make sure I'm not focusing on too much because that's my default. Because I just will get too overwhelmed and I won't really make progress in learning the technology. So yeah, at the moment, I would say AI and Flutter, but I anticipate in like a week or two, I'll probably move and dive more into like blockchain and cryptography because I've started to get more interested in that.
Okay,
That was super awesome.
Yeah, and talking about Flutter, the non-stop thoughts that comes to my mind is Chamud's pet. He actually named his pet cat Miss Flutter. So
really?
Yeah, I mean that's Flutter. I don't think you can see.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
So yeah, and I think Shadini had a question to ask. Shadini, if you're here, you can go for it.
Hi, Angelica. And
Hi.
this is not a techie question. What I would like to know is what's your favorite travel destination, or what was your favorite trip and why?
Okay, that's a really difficult question. My favorite travel destination, I haven't traveled in so long. I mean, I'm sure all of us like haven't traveled in so long now. I feel like my favorite travel destination ever was probably honestly probably I'm like thinking, I think of one and I think of another one and I'm like, oh, actually, was it that one or is that one or is that one? Probably I went to in Italy, which is like a Italian skiing village town, and that was with my family. I snowboard, so I love snowboarding, but it was just the most beautiful scenery and the mountains were gorgeous, and I really like that kind of fireplace wooden cabin vibe. So I really enjoyed that. A lot of hot chocolate drinking, and also it was a trip where I have two younger siblings, a brother and a sister, and we were all old enough to like go skiing together and like really spend. It was just a really nice like bonding experience, I guess, with me and my family. So that was lovely from a like family point of view. From a like experience and cultural point of view, I went to Egypt 6 years ago. Went like snorkeling, saw the coral reef, spent a lot of time talking to like the locals, understanding like them, their culture, getting like tours around the area. That was lovely and interesting just because I spent 4 years in the Middle East, and it's a culture, and it's like, I don't know, they're just so lovely. Like the people are just so kind and generous, and yeah, that really was a trip where I think I was in university and I was kind of in my bubble of like, I need to graduate, I need to get the best job, I need to all this. And that was a trip which really burst that bubble in a good way, in that it showed me like there's more to life than just like stressing and like being in this like bubble of I need to succeed at this thing, and just enjoy it. Which I know sounds very like hippie, I guess, but yeah, I think those two would be the ones. That's a really good question, and also one that I haven't thought of. So thank you for that question.
I think she just made you like think about, okay, when was the last time you went for an actual trip?
I know. Yeah, I want to go. I want to travel now. I'm like all the places I want to visit. Maybe I can come visit you when this thing is done.
You want to come visit us?
Yes.
When everything is over, like, you know,
obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
For sure.
So, any other questions pending on your in sense our girls? Do y'all have any other question? If not, I can go for one more.
They don't have to be about tech. They can be about anything. I'm an open book. Anything that's going to be helpful, useful, or interesting to you.
Oh, seems like you don't have any. So, so Angelica, I know like we had a conversation before all this chat as well, or before this session as well. But one more thing, what I wanted to ask you was, you know, I heard and I also like, you know, I started following in Twitter, and I actually saw you were getting ready to do, and you have also spoken in GopherCon. So, you know, and you have also made up, I'm pretty sure you also have made up for other meetups, right? So how was it?
Just about. Then I'll get like a Google document and write down like the key points. Like, what do I want to talk about? Here are the key points. Here are the key concepts. If it's a technical talk, here are the key concepts that I need to outline. And then asking yourself, what level am I talking to? So for example, if I'm a project that I've done, am I talking to? So for example, if I'm a project that I've done or a talk on some technical infrastructure I'm experimenting with, thinking about like, who are my audience? Are they going to understand this technology? or do I need to take some time to explain the basics? So if I'm talking about, for example, like a Go project, am I talking to others in or know about Go? Or do I need to take like a slide or two or like a few minutes to explain the basic concepts of Go before I dive into the kind of the rest of the content? Once I've done that, I will, honestly, I love using slide decks, key points on one slide. And then I will literally just like talk. Like I'll sit and I'll like pretend that I'm doing the talk and just babble. And once I've done that, I'll see how long it is. I'll kind of be able to make mental notes of like, oh, Angelica, you said this point, but actually that didn't really work. So let's not do that. So I kind of have a self evaluation, I guess. Once I've done that, I then go back to that Google document and I physically write out the speech. Like, and when I say I physically write it out, I mean like I literally write like, hello, thank you so much for having me. My name is Angelica Hill. The whole thing. I read it through, I edit it like an essay until I feel like it gets across everything that I want. Lovely group of friends that I talk to, and I give the talk. And I ask them again for the talk. And I ask them again for feedback. Once I've done that, then I can work on just like adding it to the actual slide deck, making it pretty. Like I spend a lot of time making slide decks look pretty, like, because it's really important. Like, I don't think there's enough emphasis put on how important it is to have like fun to look at, interesting to look at slide deck. Like people notice that kind of thing, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, like having the same background color, having the same font, having like a cute image or some snippet of code that people can look at, follow. So once I've got the talk down, it's then a lot of time refining the deck, and then it's just practicing. Like I absolutely, you might not realize it, like, because I'm speaking very openly here, but I hate giving talks. I really do not enjoy presenting. Like I get terrified and I just get so nervous and my mind will go blank and I will just freeze up if I don't practice like crazy. And just to the point where I could nearly say the whole like verbatim because I've done it so many times. So that's just it, like practice, getting feedback, whatever you feel comfortable, and refining, and then just doing it. And I feel like aside from the process, I feel like if you are wanting to get more experience speaking and you're wanting to get more experience doing talks, I would advocate for you just like putting yourself out there. Like the way that I got myself to be better at doing talks was signing up to do a talk. And then like I was signed up, like I had to do it. Like I couldn't not do it because they'd already announced it, or like it was already on the event agenda. Like I wasn't going to drop out. So I kind of forced myself to do it. Surely I still find it difficult now, but you get more comfortable and you can talk to a larger group of people, and it gets easier. You're always going to be nervous and it's always going to be scary, but I think it's just doing it, just like and in trying to enjoy it, and really savor the opportunity to talk to other people who are also excited about the same stuff you're excited about. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a really personal question for me. Being a bit selfish here, and I'm asking this because I find it so difficult to explain certain technical aspects to someone who doesn't have any knowledge on tech-wise, right? How do you do it? Because I stammer a lot and I think for like 15 minutes, how can I explain this to them? Like, especially my parents, they come up and ask, because I am the first generation who is into technology in my family. So they come and ask, they ask about security, right? So it's all technical terms, and it's so difficult for me to explain it to them, because if you have your same set of friends around knowledge of security or any technical terms, it's so easy to, tell them or teach them or talk with them. So how would you explain a non-tech person something really technical? How do you do that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing to say is like, it's okay to take the time to think. and like don't feel pressurized to come up with the best explanation straight off the bat. Like definitely take your time to think. I mean, otherwise you're not going to be able to explain it in the best way. I would also say that, and this is something that I had a very close friend, my best friend, who taught me Go. Like he was the person who, like when I knew nothing about anything, he sat down with me and he tried to teach me. And he is the reason I got into Go. And what he would do is he would dumb it down so much that it was no longer to do with the technology. It was about the basic concept. So what I mean by that is he would take like, I don't know, he would be explaining to me how a channel works, for example. So how a channel in Go or in any other languages works, which is basically something that you can pass information to, and then it will process and you can give the information to the end user. And he would basically explain it by coming up with an analogy. He'd be like, okay, so you run a cafe. You have your own little cafe, your little shop, and you sell coffee and bagels, and you are the only employee. But you have a list you have a whole line of people, which are like requests that are going to come into your cafe and ask for different things. You as a person can't be making coffee and making a bagel at the same time. Like you can't do that. You can't process both of those things at the same time. So what you're going to have to do is I'm going to get my fingers and do a little demonstration. This is you. So you're going to have your first customer. They want a coffee. You then go and you start brewing the coffee. But while that coffee is brewing, you're free. So you can go back and serve your next customer who might want a bagel. You'll then go and start toasting the bagel. In that time, your coffee's now ready. So you can go get the coffee and bring it back and serve that first person. In the time you serve that first person, your bagel's done. So you can go get the bagel and give that person. So you are like a channel. You are serving multiple purposes, but there's only one of you. This is kind of the way that he explained why, if you have a lot of stuff you need to do in your software, you only need one channel. Like you don't have to build loads of different processing mechanisms. You can use one because they can concurrently be processing multiple things at once. So the way that I would put it is like dumbing it down to something that is easy for someone to understand, because it's nothing to do with technology. Like going to a coffee shop is nothing to do with technology. Like maybe if it's about security, you can talk about like if you have a house that has 4 windows and 1 door, if you only have a lock on the door, then you have 3 windows that people can get through, which is like to explain like security vulnerabilities and the importance of covering like all your bases. So that's what I would say is taking a step back and literally taking away all of the technical terms, taking away all of the like extra stuff and just taking it back to the absolute basics. And then once they understand that like base level concept, then you can start saying like the door represents this, like the barista represents a channel. Like then you can start easing into the more technical terms. So that's what I would say. I use a lot of analogies, like a lot.
I'm going to pick up that. I'm going to use some you in simple terms, choose practical examples to explain the non-tech person. So yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay, that's very insightful, Angelica, and thanks on that. And
of course,
any questions, others? The thing is, I have lots of questions and I keep on asking, and I feel like that I'm grabbing all others' opportunities. So if you all have any questions, just mute yourself, interrupt me and ask. I don't mind.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question. So I would like to know, like, how did you deal with the change? Like, change in the sense of like, you said you're originally from London. So once you move to New York, like, it's gonna be a new environment and no friends. and away from your family and relatives, and it's going to be a different culture. So how did you adapt yourself for such change?
It was hard. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was definitely an adjustment period. It was difficult. I would say I was lucky in that, like, London and New York, they're different, and like the American culture is very different from the British culture. But it's not a world away. Like, it's not completely different. So I think I was lucky in that it wasn't too much of a culture shock. I would say two things. One is I just made sure that I was open to new friendships, and I took the time to really build relationships and build friendships with my colleagues, with, you know, people around me. And then also I think it was just a case of being okay with the fact that it was going to take some time to really build like a life here and really feel comfortable. Like, to be absolutely honest, living here for 3.5 years, 3.5? No, nearly 4 years, geez. Nearly 4 years. I would say it was only like last year, not even, like, I would say in the last 8 months that I started truly feeling like this was my home. I was comfortable, like I didn't feel like an outsider. So it takes time for sure, but I think it's just about understanding that it's going to take some time and accepting that. And then honestly, like, asking questions. Like, a lot of my friends, my American friends, laugh because I'll ask really like silly questions. Like, they'll say some word that I don't understand what it means because it's like American term or a phrase, and I'll be like, I'm really sorry to interrupt the conversation, but like, what is that? Like, what does that even mean? And feeling comfortable, just like being open about not understanding, and asking for help too, like being open about the fact, like, hi, as you know, like I'm not from here, so there are certain things that I don't understand. Like, I would really appreciate it if you would explain XYZ to me. So that's the way I kind of dealt with it. And then also bluntly, like, talking to my family every day, you know, helped. I think that had I not been able, and my friends back home, it would have made it more difficult. That's what I would say. And I'm finding, I think something that really helped, which maybe it's not always possible, but I have some friends here that I've made that we became friends just because I found out they were from the same place as I am. Like, they're from London, like colleagues at work, that I just would hear them speaking and I would recognize that accent. And so I would literally go up to them and be like, hi, I'm really sorry, I don't know you. I'd love to introduce myself. Like, are you from London? And then they'd be like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, great, me too. And that just felt so nice. Like, sometimes you just need to talk to people who are from where you're from. So that also helped.
So Angelica, you said you have a lot of meetings, right?
Yeah, my life is meetings.
Yeah, so how do you prepare for those meetings?
How do I prepare for the meetings? I mean, I usually have an agenda. Like, every meeting needs an agenda. Like, what questions do you need to be asked? What answers do you need in the meeting? And just having a very clear, which you'll send. Like, I send before the meeting, I'll send like an agenda or a little message saying, like, this is what I want to talk about in this meeting, and this is why. And then other than that, I'll ask them, like, hi, is there anything that you wanted to cover? Like, is there anything that you needed? And before you even have the meeting. I would say then it's just a case of, honestly, in the meeting, I like to make sure that at the beginning you always have a little bit of, I guess, like, small talk. Like, don't dive right in. Like, make sure that you're like, hi, especially in these times, like, hi, how are you? Check in with the person you're meeting with, check in with your team before you dive into what you need to talk about. And then in terms of after meetings, like, if there are action items, if there are things that you to get done, or you need from that person, like you made a decision in the meeting verbally, sending an email to say, hey, like, this is what we agreed upon, like, this is what I need from you, this is what I'm going to do, just so that it's clear, it's, in writing. And if there are any follow-up questions, they have that ability to kind of reach back out and continue the conversation. That's what I would say.
Yeah, great. So shall we have some other questions, right?
Yeah, I have a question. So Angelica, what is your favorite book?
My favorite book.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All these interesting questions. My favorite book. I think it depends on my mood, honestly. But I absolutely loved, Dorian Gray is a great book. I think it's very interesting. I'm a little bit biased. Like, I love plays as well. Like, I love Hamlet. I think it's Hamlet and not a Midsummer Dream. Hamlet and The Tempest are beautiful plays to read. Like, the language is really beautiful. At the moment, I'm reading a book called New Yorkers, A City Full of People, which is all about little stories of New Yorkers and New York, weird New York occurrences and things that people are so specific and interesting to New York as a city. So that's been a great book. But I think my favorite book, I don't really have one. I feel that, as I say, it depends on my mood. It depends on what I want to get out of reading that book. Like, if I want to learn, then I'll read something in a certain way. If I'm feeling a bit down and I want a pick-me-up, then I'll read something a funny book. There are just so many good books. The more I think about this question, the more books come to my mind, and I'm like, that's a good one too.
Well, may I ask, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food? Again, I really like food. I absolutely love pizza. A good margarita pizza is incredible. If you have a good margarita pizza, nothing can beat it. But if I had to choose one food to eat for the rest of my life, it wouldn't be pizza. One, because I'd be the size of a whale. But two, I think I'd get bored of pizza after a while. I'd probably pick maybe granola. I really like nutty fruity cereal, granola. I could probably eat that for every meal in the day. So that's what I think.
There's rumors going on that you like peanut butter jelly sandwich. What about that?
I do. I love peanut butter jelly sandwiches. That's probably so one of my first mini projects I wrote was a little app that was experimenting actually with channels and concurrency, and it would make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And by that, I mean, it was made up of 3 functions. One that was the bread function, one was the peanut butter function, and it would basically pass the bread string, the jelly string, and the peanut butter string to the main function, and then it would make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That's a very American thing, though, that I didn't like before I moved here, and then I learned to like them when I was here.
There was one specific question which one of the participants kept on asking, and I was waiting for the right moment to ask the question. If you had to choose between One Direction and BTS, which one would you choose?
Oh God. Between One Direction and who?
BTS. I have
Right.
no idea who BTS is, but these people keep on
I
talking
do.
about BTS. So yeah.
I do. I don't know, like I really liked One Direction back in the day, but since Zayn and like Liam and everyone left,
Yes.
I don't like them that much anymore because like they're not a thing anymore. I mean, I like Zayn. I like are super cute. Liam, I'm kind of over. Harry Styles, though, this is the thing. Like, if you had said Harry Styles or like BTS, I'd probably pick Harry Styles. So I would say if you have to pick One Direction or BTS, I would say BTS. But if I'm allowed to pick Harry on his own, then I would pick him.
Okay, I actually found someone who has same taste as me, so I love for that. So thank you for that particular person who asked that question. Oh, yeah. One more
Actually,
thing. Yes, Angelica. And add to that?
No, literally, I found my peanut butter and jelly program in case any of you are interested.
Yeah, and it's been a difficult time to everyone around the world. From working in a corporate environment, now they have shifted to a remote working environment, right? So I'm pretty sure you are also facing the same thing. So, what do you think about it, and how do you work these days?
I mean, we've been fully remote at the New York Times since the first week of March 2020. So I've been fully remote since then. And it was really difficult because I was someone who went into the office every day. I would get in at like 8 and then leave at like 8 or 9 p.m. So a big part of my routine was going into the office. And I realized that I valued the routine of kind of getting up, like getting dressed into actual clothing, going to the office, like when I was done with work, going home and having that kind of separatism of work and home. So I think the first thing that really helped me was setting up my home in a way where there was a clear delineation between my workspace and my like me space. So like, for example, I have like my desk here, I have a massive plant next to me. And I have my window, and this kind of little area is my workspace. Like I don't watch TV. I don't like watch Netflix on my laptop here. I don't work on my personal projects on my desk. This space is reserved for when I'm doing my work. I have other areas that are where I go to like read, like my sofa, where I'll go read. And I kind of setting up those kind of like fake boundaries, I guess, within your home space, no matter how small it is, has really helped. I think also like getting up, I don't like getting up and either like going for a run, like going for a walk, like doing some like little yoga in my apartment, or like just like putting some music on like this morning I got up and I just put some music on my laptop and did like a little dance, like on my own, like mini dance party in the morning, just to like get myself up, get myself into the groove. And then also just like having a shower or like getting dressed into clothing that is actually like, you could leave your apartment in that clothing. Because I think at the beginning I slipped into like, I would wear like pajama pants or like PJ tops and just clothing that I just was very like good to be comfy, but I couldn't go out into the world wearing those clothings, which made me just feel a bit more like, I guess like slumpy and like, I don't know, it wasn't helpful. So I think it's trying to have some kind of routine that you stick to that helps you keep that like barrier between like your chill time and your time. Also though, like letting yourself take breaks. Like previously when I was working in the office, like I would not take breaks. Like I would get in, as I say, in the morning and I would work all day. Like if I wasn't working, I'd feel guilty. I'd be like, oh no, like I'm at work. I can't I don't know, watch a YouTube video, or I can't go for a little walk. Which was really, like, retrospectively was not healthy. Like, it's healthy for your brain to have breaks and to be able to recharge throughout the day. So also, I've loved, honestly, being remote for that reason, in that if I'm feeling my brain getting tired, or I'm feeling like I am able to do my best work, like being okay, like stepping away, making yourself a nice cup of tea, or, going for a little 10-minute walk outside to get some fresh air, or like watching a silly YouTube video, just to like give yourself that mental break. But it's difficult. That being said, like, we're planning to go back to the office in September. I plan to go back like maybe 3 days a week. I do the flexibility of being at home sometimes, but I think it's just about, as I say, like listening to yourself, like brain is tired, like giving it that break, and then setting up those clear boundaries.
Yeah, like I'm like myself. I actually had to, like, when we started remote working, I had to change my entire room setup, because I always have my laptop, my desktop, everything on a side, and then I had my bed, and I had to carry my work on my laptop. And what I usually do is, I'm pretty sure like most of us would have done that. I take my laptop and go to the bed and keep the laptop on the bed, and I sleep, and then I do the work. Literally, it became a routine, and I was so unproductive. I took so many hours to do a single task. So I came to a conclusion that this is not going to happen. Myself a new desk, removed my bed, and removed the entire. I changed the entire room setup. And think about it. I know it's really hard for many of us, coping with this remote working and everything. But eventually, one step at a time would bring a huge change, right? So I believe in that. So that's how I changed my entire setup, and I'm pretty, like, I don't sleep in the same room. I don't know how many of y'all do that. I changed my sleeping bag to the another room. So this particular room became my workspace. So I'll wake up, go change, get fresh, and then come back and sit in front. There are days sometimes, I get up and straight away come to the workspace, because I'll be pending tasks a lot. But if you need to be more productive, it's always better you get, be fresh and do the work.
Yeah.
So that is something I wanted to add along with that. I think,
no, for sure.
Yeah, true. And I think it's almost like we have talked almost like 1.5 hours. Like, I keep going asking questions. So, any other questions from y'all girls? If y'all have, you can.
Yeah. So, thinking about these days, what are you working on?
What am I working on these days? So we're nearly at the end of the half. Like, we work in like halves at the company, where we'll set goals and have projects that we need to deliver by the end of June, and then we have projects that we need to deliver by the end of December. So I'm just working to finish off a few of the projects that my team has been working on. So one of them is like a push data hygiene project. So us basically ensuring that the data we have about our push notification subscribers is accurate, and is kind of, we're able to assess their activity accurately to be able to kind of make it a better experience for them. That's the first thing. The second project is more internal. Like, as I say, like my team maintains the backend platform, the physical like platform that compiles the templates, the audiences, and sends the kind of emails and push notifications. So we had a big project that would enable us to use Datadog to have alerting and monitoring. So we're finishing that work, which is really interesting. Datadog's really has some real great qualities about it, but it has some pain points too. So, but that's been interesting. And then other than that, just planning. So we start planning what we want to do in the next half of the year, next week. So at the moment, I'm doing a lot of thinking about like what do we need to do to make our platform better, along with my other team members and the other team leads, and trying to just like think of how we as a team can get to a better place. So a lot of planning, a lot of thinking. Other than that, like I'm currently working on, so I organize bi-monthly all-day conference events for the Google Developers Network. So we actually had one celebrating Women in Go last week, which was really interesting and really fun to do. So now we're thinking through our next event and trying to look for speakers and organize that, if any of the side projects, and making sure that the work my team is doing is completed effectively. But I'm hoping in the next week or two to start a new project. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but I want to start a new side project, like a little mini app, or maybe I'll write like a game, or I don't know, some text editor, or I don't really know yet, but I'm up for suggestions. If there's any fun side projects or things you've worked on, let me know. I'd love to try them out. I'm always open to new things.
We'll definitely let you know, Angelica. So we know we also shooted you some questions related. How is your lifestyle in New York? How was the changes from being a I don't know how to say this, but yeah, you were in London, but then you became you came to America, and then you had a transformation in your lifestyle as well.
Yeah.
So now you're in New York and you are a project manager, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how is your lifestyle in New York as a project manager?
What do you mean by that? Do you mean like how is life? like I'm good. Like life is good. Like I'm
not obviously you look good and your life is, I'm pretty sure you feel like really great, but as project manager, obviously there would be few challenges you might have faced, or with your team and everyone. So like how do you live with it? How do you face it? Like
yeah, I mean, I feel like obviously we faced a lot of challenges over the last year, just because all transitioning to being fully remote. I mean, honestly, my life is made a lot easier because I just have a really good team. Like, I think I've historically faced more challenges with like helping coordinate and hang it out, like experimenting. Like I'm like, honestly, like most of my UIs are really like weird looking and like aren't aesthetically pleasing. Like I would never give them to a user, but I'm learning and I'm just continuing to try stuff out. So that's what I would say. Just do it.
Thank you so much, Angelica. I'm pretty sure I'll be starting it soon after my final exams are done.
Yeah.
I'm going to bother. I think I'm going to bother Servandi and Shamod, sometimes even you, to work
Please
on
do.
your UX thing. Yeah.
And Raymond, yeah, and Angelica, I have one very last question.
Sure.
So, what are the advices that you could give to the girls about technology side?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've kind of said this already, but I'll just repeat it. Like similarly to what I just said to you, I do like just try it, like give it a go, read about it, watch videos, like have fun. Like it's a fun thing. Like don't let it feel overwhelming. Don't let your fear that you won't be good at it stop you from just trying it out. Like you lose nothing by just trying it out and seeing if you like it. And it's like anything, like the more you try it, the more you do it, the more you practice, the better you'll get. And like everyone was new to it once, you know what I mean? Like you see all these people who are great and are amazing, but like they started as a newbie as well. So like, everyone's been there. So I would also say as a side note to that, like asking for help is so important. Like you don't have to do it alone. Like if you want to get into UI UX, exactly what you said, Renu, like you don't have to do that alone. You can reach out to me. You can reach out, you have a network of people around you who are willing to help and who were once new as well, so they can help you out. So that's what I would say. It's scary, it's difficult, it's going to be challenging, it's not going to be easy. But if you enjoy it and you want to do it, then just try it out because it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe we came to an end. So it was a great and awesome chat. Thank you very much, Angelica, for giving your valuable time for us. And I am especially grateful to people, few amazing people who support for this event. Thank you, Chamod, the president of SLIIT Post Community. And another big thanks to Renu. Without your continued help, we would never be able to put on an event like this. So thank you all the participants. And again, thank you very much, Angelica. It was such an honor to have you with us. So, Oshadik, you can continue.
I have one more thing to add. Sorry,
Yeah,
Oshadik.
sure.
Okay, I think quickly have a snap, a picture of us, so it will be like.
Yeah, Shamon, do you have your Flutter with you?
Flutter. Shamod, if you're there, bring Flutter.
Not right now.
Girls, can you turn on your camera?
Yeah, go ahead, Tosi.
Can you all turn on your cameras? That would be better, no?
Yeah.
Okay, let's end of the session. So we have reached the end of today's session. Thank you very much, Angelica, for your interesting session and your valuable time. It was a wonderful session for us. And also thank you everyone for joining with us today and supporting us. Hope you learn new things and it was so amazing. And until the next session, stay safe. Bye.
Bye.